Hi, my name's Holly and I'm a computer science tutor and I run Teach All About It. Today we're going to be looking at a past paper question for von Neumann versus Harvard architectures from the AQA A-Level Computer Science syllabus. By looking at a real student answer, by the end of this video you're going to be able to understand exactly what the examiner is looking for you to put into your exam to get full marks. So let's get started. So we have an A-level question here. It's an AQA question from paper 2. We are looking at the difference between Harvard architectures and the von Neumann. So if we do a little bit of highlighting on our question first, we have a tablet computer. It uses the Harvard architecture, and we need to describe two advantages of using that Harvard architecture compared to von Neumann. Now, there are a couple of things that it's worthwhile being aware of. First of all, we are going to need to think of two things. Both of them need to be advantages, so this is not a balanced question, and we need to compare them to von Neumann. So when we look at the difference between our two architectures, one thing to remember is that Harvard is going to store things in separate memory locations. You've got one for instructions and you have a separate one for data, and all the benefits and drawbacks that come with it. Now for von Neumann, you are then going to have a single memory location or a single memory area for both instructions and for data. Now what that means is that imagine you've got your instructions here and then the data just sort of sits around it like this. That means that you've got some really good use of memory. However, there are some pitfalls there. So I'd like you to pause the video, have a go yourself, and then we'll look at our student's answer. So how did you do? So here is our student's answer, and you can see they actually didn't get the marks for this, and I will explain to you why. Now the second one is simply because it's incorrect, but the first, it almost looks as if they're going towards the right answer, but they've used some wording that might be a little bit misleading, and they're not signposting what they've written. So the word rebooted is indicating to me as an examiner that this might mean that the student means that something's gone wrong and potentially crashed the computer. But it is not enough. They've not told me why. So for this one, what I would be looking for is for them to explain to me really, really clearly that both data and instructions are stored separately. Now, if we're talking about separate memory locations, then we're being really clear, but that's not an advantage, and I need a therefore. And in this case, therefore, data won't be mistaken for an instruction, and that is what is going to make the computer crash, and that is why it will need to be rebooted. So in this case, we need to state what it is that the Harvard architecture does, and then we need to extend our answer with a therefore or a because or a for example, and then explain a little further. So even though this is only 2 marks, at A level we're looking for the application of knowledge. Okay, now the second one, it being simpler to be implemented is incorrect because you're actually using more components. However, what we can do is we can lead on from the first answer and we can extend it even further. So for this second advantage, what we can do is we can say, well, if we have multiple data and instructions stored in those separate memory locations, that means we have multiple control units. If we have multiple control units, that means we have multiple control buses, and that's for the instructions and data. Therefore, they won't create a bottleneck. So again, we're using that therefore to extend what is happening in this particular advantage. So we're really looking for the application of knowledge. So data and instructions are stored in separate memory locations. Why is that a good thing? Harvard architecture also has multiple control units and its associated control buses, which potentially could be a drawback because they're expensive and they're more difficult to implement. However, they are a benefit because they prevent bottlenecks of everything coming down the same route into the processor. And that is how you're going to get your 2 marks in this question. So would you like your question featured in one of these videos? Please do hit the subscribe button and don't forget the notification bell. And you can submit your GCSE, IGCSE or A-level computer science questions at www.teachallaboutit.school.